the time, we made light of the jibe, but it stayed with me, pricking at me like a thorn. A decade later, India has arrived at a full-blown crisis of descriptions. Religious militancy threatens the foundations of the secular state. Many Indian intellectuals now appear to accept the Hindu nationalist definitions of the state. Minority groups respond with growing extremisms of their own. It is perhaps significant that there is no commonly used Hindustani word for secularism. The importance of the secular ideal in India has simply been assumed in a rather unexamined way. Now that communalist forces would appear to have all the momentum, secularism's defenders are in alarming disarray. And yet, if the secularist principle were abandoned, India could simply explode. It is a paradoxical fact that secularism, which has been much under attack of late outside India as well as inside it, is the only way of safeguarding the constitutional, civil, human and, yes, religious rights of minority groups. Does India still have the political will to insist on this safeguard? I hope so. We must all hope so. And we shall see. The first 3 sections of this volume deal with subcontinental themes. Section 1 contains work roughly grouped around Midnight's Children. Section 2 is about the politics of India and Pakistan. Section 3 is about literature. Indo-Anglian literature is presently in excellent shape. Many new writers made their reputations in the 1980s. Vikram Seth, Alan Seeley, Amitav Ghosh, Rohinton Mistry, Upmanyu Chatterjee, Shashi Tharoor, and more, and are producing work of growing confidence and originality. If only the political scene were as healthy. But alas, the damage done to Indian life by the emergency, Mrs. Gandhi's period of authoritarian rule between 1974 and 1977, is now all too plain. The reason why so many of us were outraged by the emergency went beyond the dictatorial atmosphere of those days, beyond the jailing of opponents and the forcible sterilizations. The reason was, as I first suggested 6 years ago in the essay here entitled Dynasty, that it was during the emergency that the lid flew off the Pandora's box of communal discord. The box may be shut now, but the goblins of sectarianism are still on the loose. Indian painters like Vivan Sundaram rose nobly to the challenge of the emergency. No doubt Indian writers and artists will respond with equal skill to the new crisis. Bad times, after all, traditionally produce good books. The 4th section deals primarily with movies and television. I have tinkered only a little with the original form of these pieces, but I should say that 7 years on, I find Outside the Whale a little unfair to George Orwell and to Henry Miller too. I have not changed my mind about Richard Attenborough's film, Gandhi, but it must be accepted that the film's influence outside India was often very positive. Radical and progressive groups and movements in South America, Eastern Europe, and Southern Africa too found it uplifting. The piece about Handsworth songs stimulated a lively debate among black British filmmakers, some of it supportive of my views, some of it critical, all of it fascinating and, I think, helpful. And one footnote to the piece about Satyajit Ray. When I met him, he was shooting scenes for The Home and the World in an old zamindar's mansion in the depths of rural Bengal. He rightly thought it the perfect setting for his movie. I found that I needed it too, and it became the model for the dream mansion Peronistan, occupied by Mirza Sid Akhtar and his wife in the Titlipur sections of the Satanic Verses. The giant banyan infested by butterflies wasn't there, however. I saw that in southern India, not far from Mysore. Section 5 contains 5 pieces about the experience of migrants, primarily Indian migrants to Britain. Of these, the new empire within Britain requires a few words of comment because of its rather strange afterlife. It was originally written for the opinions slot in the very early days of Channel 4. It was the second programme in the series following E.P. Thompson. The many British blacks and Asians who phoned in or wrote agreed, virtually unanimously, that the lecture had done no more than tell the simple truth. To them, I had gone no further than the ABC of racial prejudice in Britain. There was also, unsurprisingly, a hostile response from some members of the white community, though they were outnumbered by other white Britons who had found the piece informative and useful. My purpose had been simple: to tell the white majority how life in Britain all too often felt to members of racial minority groups. I've been in a minority group all my life, a member of an Indian Muslim family in Bombay, then of a Mohajir.